Welcome back to Sci-Fi and Fantasy Read Along.
My name is Yule.
Thanks, Yule, very, very much. Thank you. I'm ATN. Philip can join us at his leisure. But in the meantime, this is Season 9. This is a series that we have wanted to revisit for a long time. This is the second book in the Black Company series by Glenn Cook. It is called Shadows Linger. It is the second book of the North, etc. Hey, Phil, welcome back. We've already done the intro, so just say hi.
Hey, everybody. Sorry I missed that.
Yeah, I am not. That's okay. All right, so welcome back. This is Season 9, as I mentioned. Season 9 is dedicated to all of our listeners, as per usual, but an especially thankful dedication goes out to anybody who supports us on Patreon. If you would like to join us there, you may. You can look in the description of the video, wherever.
What's the name of the Patreon? Is it just Sci-Fi Fantasy Read Along?
There's a link, man. I don't look at this stuff. I just made it and then forgot about it.
Great. They'll be donating money to like Sci-Fi Quarterly magazine or something.
Not if they follow the link in the description.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
that link is
if
there.
they can follow instructions, everything will be fine. If they have to type it in on their own, good luck. Good luck. Good luck to everybody.
Now we're going to do this a little bit differently, at least for the beginning of this.
I think probably until
Season
the
9.
convergence occurs.
We're going to follow two groups of people. One is in a city called Tally, and the other one is in Juniper. And they alternate between chapters. You know, you go Juniper, then you go Tally, and Juniper and Tally. We are going to discuss Juniper only, and then we're going to discuss Tally.
Right. I think Tally is a land. Juniper is a city.
Gotcha.
Well, Tally is a province, but I think it's also a city.
It was like Hope and Love or something like that.
So it's
Or the
Heart.
names.
I can't remember.
Whatever. Those
It
are
was
the
like
two
Tome
major
or something.
towns in Tally, and the people are referred to as Tallylanders. So I don't think there's a place called Tally other than the land.
Well, then where are they at right now?
They're in Tallyland.
Okay. All
It's a
that's
Monopoly,
true.
or there's a Parker Brothers game.
It's like New York. New York is a state, and New York is also a city. And I think we're in Tally City.
I don't think they're in a
Tally-
city.
We're in Tally Town.
not in a city.
But we're also
Whatever.
We're certainly
They don't
we are
get
certainly
into
in
the-
Tally Province. We're in Tally Province. We're in some town in Tally Province. How about that? Got it. 100% agreement.
So we're gonna
No dissent.
alternate. No, we're not gonna do the alternating conversation. We are going to just do Juniper and then do Tally, or whatever.
Clear as mud. Absolutely.
Well,
Absolutely.
it was.
So tell me about Juniper, the city.
Juniper is a old. Well, it came from a very old town that was founded on a death god's cult.
Yeah, I believe his words were ancient city.
Ancient.
It was an
Okay,
ancient city.
So Juniper has come up from that, and they're outside the dominion of the lady, who the Black Company work for. We know the Black Company are going to be showing up here if they aren't already here, depending on how this is written.
I'm pretty sure they're far away still.
So the reason why the Black Company is coming to town is because a specter from yesteryear is leaking into the present, and it's upon a height overlooking the city.
But right now they don't really describe what the specter is or the threat is. They merely say that it exists.
And that is
it's
why the Black Company has been sent outside of the Lady's empire to investigate.
they will be.
Right now,
Sent.
there are two old friends who stand alone facing the shadow.
Do you have any idea who that is? Because it.
Of course I do, because I read the first 9
Oh,
chapters.
well, it wasn't just. I did too, but I still don't get it. It's portentous. It's foreboding. It's saying something's going to happen, and it's not clear who or what all of it means or is at this point in time.
Let's talk about the Iron Lily.
Yeah.
Did you have anything else for that first section?
I believe the very first chapter, there's a parallel between the Black Company and the grimness of this city, Juniper. Maybe you guys didn't see it. I was like, wow, it's like this grim, morose city, dedicated towards death. And I kind of feel that the Black Company is the same way. I mean, that's what they do. They don't revere it, but certainly they dole it out in spades. Maybe there's symbolism there. Maybe I'm just imagining things, but I kind of liked it. And
All right, so this is what the back of my copy of the Omnibus Edition says. Darkness wars with darkness As the hard-bitten men of the Black Company take their pay and do what they must, they bury their doubts with their dead. That's referring to the entire omnibus. It's the Books of the North, the first 3 books in the series. But we're not dealing with a black and white world. We're dealing with a black on black world.
That's actually a really good point. This isn't Tolkien where, white and black have very specific meaning and symbolism.
Evil rules this world. This is a cynic's world.
I never put it together that way, but you're right. I really don't see a lot of purity and goodness in this story.
The original novel, I mean, there was very little good in that. Some of the men were like not as evil as others. All right, let's move to
the Iron Lily.
Great name. Love it.
We're getting kind of a down-to-earth view of the city here. It begins by looking at the Iron Lily, which is just referred to often as the Lily. We see that it's rotten, it's ramshackled, it's holy, it's falling apart, it's twisted. The wind passes through it, and it's chilling the patrons inside despite the little fire that they all kind of huddle around. We follow the wind out to the bay, and it's full of icebergs and cold. And then we follow the wind up the mountains, and we see that the city grows up along the sides of the mountain. And then we find that there are 2 castles at the very, very top overlooking even the wealthiest district. One is called Duratil.
Duratil was on the southern height, and it is the hereditary bastion of the Dukes of Juniper. And it says it's in scandalous disrepair.
I love that term.
As every structure in Juniper is. It's like a city dedicated to a death god that is itself dying.
Oh, I like that.
Well, Duratil overlooks the enclosure, which is itself above the catacombs. And it's the epicenter or the heart of the city of Juniper. So this is the old city, the previous city. This is the remnants of it.
And it's guarded by the Custodians of the Dead.
That's the cult that's guarding the dead until the Day of Passage.
Point is, the Custodians play literally a central part in the ongoings of the entire city.
But there is another castle on the North Ridge, and it is described as being like obsidian-like. There's no joints.
It's just the Black Castle.
It's actually growing. They say demons leer from it, and I think there's a little bit more artistic. Serpents writhe in the frozen agony.
It's said that the architecture was alien, so
Sure.
it should give us the notion, I think, that it is out of place.
Right.
It does not match.
Whereas the other castle is
It fits.
falling apart, and it's overlooking the city that's falling apart. This thing is growing, and it's probably, it is where the evil is obviously emanating that the Black Company is coming to deal with.
By all appearances, it's just like radiating evil in all directions. And it's growing, which I have a hard time picturing like how a fortress can grow.
Magic. I think this is the thing that's coming from the past and leaking out,
It's
right?
like a death seed or a baby death god. I don't know what it really is, but I tell you what, if there was like a growing evil black castle on the horizon, I would GFO. I mean, I'd go find someplace better to live.
Let me ask you a question about the previous book, because I can't remember everything. The lady is part of she was married to someone?
The Dominator.
Yes.
There were more than them, or they were the only ones?
They were opposed by 10 who were taken.
Oh, it's so hard to remember. Were they made by the lady, the 10 who were taken?
No, they were made by the Dominator.
And then they split off and wanted to do their own thing, and the Dominator's like asleep?
You need a history lesson. Let's do the history lesson. Okay, there was the Dominator and his lady, and they were opposed by the 10 who were then taken by the Dominator.
Gotcha.
They were all opposed by the White Rose, who put them into the earth and defeated them. And then Bowmans accidentally released the lady and the 10 who were taken, but the Dominator remains in the ground. But Philip, to your earlier point that you would get the F out of this city if you knew that castle was growing on the North Ridge, the citizens of Juniper are too desperate and poor to move. They ignore it. They pretend that it isn't there.
Well, I don't know if that... Well, they do say that, but I have...
Yeah, they say that. I'm not making this
Well,
up. What is wrong?
Nothing with... To me, that's the impression of the people that are poor and desperate. I mean, come on. Can't the Dukes get out?
I saw an interesting It was DW News. I'm not sure who actually makes it, but it's basically an English language German news agency. They were talking about Russia, obviously, because the war in Ukraine is going on. But this guy supposedly has sources inside of whatever replaced the KGB. He's supposedly able to talk to spies inside of Russia. And he described the people there as being only concerned with their careers. They don't care the pretense behind what's going on. Their only concern is their own survival. I think that that's kind of what's going on in Juniper. They know something bad is there, but they only have the energy and the capacity to concern themselves with what's going on in their own lives.
Well, not only that, I mean, you have to be well prepared to travel anywhere in a freezing cold land, right?
Well, where are you gonna go?
I mean, it rains ice at night.
Oh, it's terrible, actually. Yeah, it's.
I can't imagine because I don't live in places like that, but...
I like the cold weather, but I think this place is like the Arctic Circle. It's not even winter yet. It's like fall, and there are ice floes in the bay. Juniper, Maron Shed is the name of this chapter. Maron Shed is a man. He is the proprietor of the Iron Lily.
Yeah, he lives there with his mother.
And he is wiping out mugs when we begin.
Dirty, cracked. Probably you don't want to drink from the mugs.
So we get a description of the lily, which is not really important, right?
Not really. I mean, you've said it before that the foundation has holes and the wind is blowing through and everybody's cold regardless of how big or meager a fire there is.
Well, right now it's a tiny little fire. All the patrons are huddled around it. It's dark in there. He said it was treacherous if you came in out of the sunlight because it was just, you can't see. And there's like little tables everywhere and there's support beams and a low ceiling.
It's pretty shoddy and sketchy.
So the people inside, we've got Asa, we've got June, we have somebody referred to as Darling. And then we have someone else referred to as Raven.
Again, going back to the previous book just for a second, they left the Black Company together. Croker was talking to him, and then all of a sudden, Raven's gone. Something like that, right?
Okay, so yes, sort of. Raven and Darling ditched during the battle at Charm when the rebel was sieging Charm. They took that opportunity to bail out. They didn't tell anybody, but everybody in the Black Company kind of knew.
Oh, yeah, there was like a letter left behind.
No.
No.
Nothing?
No letter.
There was something,
No.
right?
It was just that some people knew and weren't saying.
They took off without saying, which is obviously against the rules. Yeah, he must have died in the battle, is what they said. But they all knew. Croker and Silent hunted them down and waylaid them in the road and confronted them. And he said, no, that was an uncool move to leave without saying goodbye.
They gave him a bunch of money and two horses and said that they were going to work the same angle from different positions.
So what you're saying is, since they're working the same angle in different positions, we've got the Black Company coming to Juniper and Raven and Darling scouting it out.
That's not appropriate. This is the lady's intervention. The lady sent the Black Company here. She's sending the Black Company here. Yeah. She has no idea who Darling is.
That's right. Because she doesn't want her to be around.
Somewhere in these first 9 chapters, Croker says that if he went before the Eye again, because the lady can do this, she has the Eye of Sauron, he's dead meat.
Yeah.
Right.
Because he has information that she would kill him for.
So when Raven said they were working this angle from 2 different ends, I don't think I understood it then, and I don't understand it now that we're revisiting it, but was that protecting Darling? Was that the angle?
Maybe that's what it is.
I think that's it.
Yeah, it wasn't supporting the lady.
No, it was not. It's because Darling is very important. We know who Darling is from the last book. Croker figured it out. That's why Raven took off with her. It was just not safe to have her that close to the lady.
So it's just going to be luck that the Black Company is coming
bad luck
back to bad luck, if you will.
Bad luck, because Raven is he's outside of her domain. He got out with Darling. He escaped from her empire, and here come the Black Company.
He went to the ends of the earth to protect this girl. I'm like, nobody will find me here.
All right, so in this in the Iron Lily, the fire is central. Ace is this weaselly little homeless dude who is described as being willing to sell his sister for a couple of copper coins. He has just brought in some firewood because that is what Shed, the owner and proprietor of the tavern, needs that for the fire to keep his mother warm, and so thereby he lets Asa sleep on the floor.
Yeah, he's got a policy. When homeless people are willing to bring in firewood to keep the place warm, he'll let them sleep on the floor for free.
It's his charity, but he's the one that's actually in need of charity. This is when we're introduced to Raven. Raven is here drinking wine. He gives Shed a silver coin, a leva, and he says, hey, go get some actual firewood. And that is what spurs on the plot of this section.
Shed apparently is not doing good at business. The only people who come in here are too poor to actually buy wine. I don't think anybody's drinking except Raven. They're just huddling around the fire. He's so excited to actually see a silver coin that he immediately and greedily grabs it and is like, oh, absolutely, I'll go get firewood.
He was recently described as being super, super deep in debt, like up to his ears, and desperate.
So he goes out to go get the wood. It's a block away. It's just about to rain, and it's going to be like sleet. So it's going to be really bad. And even though it's a block away, it sounds like it's a pretty good block.
In that kind of weather? Yeah.
Yeah. He goes outside, comes back in immediately because he saw some dudes, a real big dude out there. When he comes in, Darling, who is working for Shed, asks if it's Craig.
She signs. She's deaf and mute.
He says, yeah, it's Craig.
Shed signs back, yeah, you haven't seen me all day.
Right.
And then he tries to go out the back door, but he gets met by somebody with a bunch of missing teeth, terrible breath, and a filthy finger pointing into his chest.
So where you going, Shed?
You're not going anywhere. Juniper, Craig. All right, so enter Craig and Count. Count is the mountainous man who is the muscle for Craig. Craig is he's a moneylender, and he's here to collect because
is he a moneylender or
Yeah.
is he a protection racket?
No, he's a moneylender.
I think he's just an
There is
extortionist.
interest involved.
No, he's a
Yeah.
moneylender. He's the source of the debt for Mare and Shed.
He's a loan shark.
He lent money, and he's trying to get it back.
Yeah, but he's definitely coming when he knows there is no possibility of this guy giving him anything.
He's been late for 3 weeks in a row.
He's going to break his legs or something like that.
Yeah, he loans money to him, and then he squeezes him into insolvency, and then he takes the land back and sells it again.
That's the plan, but Shed does not want that to happen because the lily's worth more than his debt.
Even in its state of disrepair.
And being in the worst slum in the city.
There's also a feeling of loyalty that Shed has, not just to his mother, but to keep this place here and to keep it Juniper's. Not just Craig coming in and taking over everything.
And turning it into whore cribs.
Yeah. It's interesting. You know, we were saying that the people at Juniper probably, it's too hard to actually get up and leave. And again, maybe it's because his mother is blind and can't go anywhere. You know, she has to be here.
I think he's justifying his own desperation, but yeah.
Oh, well, we're doing Craig right now, so it doesn't matter.
Craig is the most despicable of human beings. I mean, heartless.
He's a stereotypical extortionist, money lender, mobster coming in looking for his money when he knows that he can't get it. He's just trying to scare this guy, get him into a position where he's weak, and then take his stuff. That's what he's doing. It's a stereotype. It's handled really nicely, but
he has the big dude punch Shed in the stomach. As he's falling over, one of his other dudes holds him up to get punched again.
And they search Shed for more money, and they find that leva, the silver leva, and they're like, you're holding out on us. And Raven steps in and says, he's telling the truth, that's mine. So Red tries to go for Raven, and Raven, I think, dislocates his arm or something. He said there was a popping sound.
He gets him into a
his
hold,
wrist.
and he kind of threatens Craig.
Craig threatens him, and he says that wasn't smart. And then he pops Red's wrist. Red is in operation later on in a subsequent chapter, so I don't think he broke anything.
I think you're right as far as like the disjointing or dislocating or something.
He hurt him. And once he hurts him, then Count goes for him.
Mountain.
Raven pulls out his that 9-inch dagger. Old Count stumbles over himself to avoid that dagger and falls down. We get a de-escalation from Craig, who's smart enough to know that people are going to start dying.
Call it what you want. He did control and de-escalate the situation, but you can tell he's already planning to
take his revenge. Yeah. And he's given Shed 1 week to pay everything, all of it. That's it. And those are the terms. Deal with it. So Raven reminds Shed that he was on his way to get firewood. It's still cold. Go get it.
He goes to Latham's
To get the
He's
firewood,
like
yeah.
Again, he's like a block. Does he gets Asa to help him carry it?
No. Lathan gets Shed to carry some of the wood back. He's like, you're going back that way anyway. Here, take some of the wood.
Oh, I see what it was. Okay,
He makes him carry some of the wood that he just paid to have delivered.
Dude, Latham is a jerk to Shed, too. He's like, oh, who did you kill for this? Or who'd you rob?
Who died?
Then that goes into the story about how a prostitute died at Shed's place, and he rifled through her stuff, which is a no-no because of...
That's how the custodians are supported, is through the whatever the dead have on them.
That's like the last time he bought wood, real wood. Because
No,
everything else is like pine twigs and a dirty chimney that's going to catch on fire.
That's
eventually.
the garbage that Asa was just bringing in. Right?
Yeah.
But this is good oak. I would like
Yeah.
to point out that on the way, that 1 block walk that Shed took to go get the firewood, he was considering how he could set up Raven to save his own skin.
Well, Craig would probably be cool with it.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
Forgive him some.
Definitely. He told Raven on the way out that Craig was going to kill him.
Shed is definitely desperate, but I mean, his morality and ethics go completely out the window when it comes to his own survival, and he's scared.
I think that's normal. When people are faced with actual hardship, they start to loosen the morality.
He'll definitely sell out
Well,
Raven.
he's pondering it for sure, but whether or not he's the kind of guy to do it,
We'll see. Well, he is craven. He is kind of cowardly, and Raven scares him.
Well, Raven does scare me, right?
Rightly so. Oh my god.
He is the only guy buying wine, though.
That's
also.
true. He's his only paying customer.
All right, so this scene with Lathan does a couple of things. One, it lets us know that Shed is a bit corrupt. We got that from his thoughts on the way there. We know that he went counter to custom when he rifled the coin off of the dead prostitute who died in his tavern. And then we also see that Asa is a source of information that can't really be trusted, because the whole story about him rifling that coin off the prostitute, he told that to Asa, and then Asa told everybody.
Right.
So we now know that Asa spreads information, and I think that we're going to see that being used later on.
Yeah, Asa has no loyalty, and even Shed had said he's a thief, he's a liar,
And worse, probably. So Lathan is like, here, take some wood. You're going that way anyway. And Shed carries some wood back to the Lily. And we're back in the Lily with Shed trying to warn Raven again. He's like, look, that guy's going to kill you.
yeah, he's like, do me a favor, go away.
He rethinks that thought, though. He says, hey, wait, you think you owe me, so I'm going to ask you for a favor in the future, and you're gonna do what I ask, right? And Shed says yes.
And then he says, go sit by the fire. It's nice. And maybe that is the favor.
No, I don't think so.
Raven's already thinking 2 or 3 steps ahead, and I kind of want to know what's going on in his brain.
I kind of do, too. Are we ready to move on to Juniper Death Pays? All right.
This chapter.
All right, so some days have passed, and Shed is starting to get nervous. He's wiping down mugs again when Asa comes in, and Asa looks pretty scared. So they have, he gets questioned by Shed. It's like, what's up? What's up?
Well, isn't Asa going to go work for Craig or something like that?
I think Asa has already started working for Craig, but he got roughed up by them because they were seeking information on Raven. They want to exact revenge, and they set 2 guys to follow Raven who have now disappeared.
Thing is that we've never seen him leave this place, is what they said.
We have not.
Oh, well, I thought Asa had said that also.
No, we find out right now that Raven sometimes stays out all night.
Yeah. Craig was trying to get information on Raven, saying, when does he leave? Where does he go? And Asa was like, I don't have any of that information. So Craig kind of, I wouldn't say press ganged, but certainly intimidated.
He paid him.
He did pay him. And since Asa has no loyalty whatsoever, he immediately said, oh, hey, you're my friend now.
Well, he bought his loyalty.
Yes, exactly.
Shed's hurt by this, that Asa would be, like, working with Craig.
He did something that wasn't entirely smart. He withheld. Like, Asa paid for wine, and then he didn't give it to him because he wanted the information. He held back a little too long. He tried to get a little too much information. He wanted personal information. He's like, what did Craig say about me? And then Asa was like, nope, that's a step too far. So he got a little snippy. He's like, I don't need you. I've got new friends.
Yeah, and so Shed just kind of ran him off. He's like, get the hell out of here then.
They're not going to need him long. They're going to use him to get back at Raven, and then they'll be done with Asa. They won't need him anymore. All right, so in early morning, soon after, June, Shed's mother, who is blind, she's been taking care of maid duty. She's been emptying the chamber pots and dusting the beds for lice and fleas, when she encounters a dead body.
Yeah, what is it? Is this a prostitute again?
Well, he could be a prostitute, but he's just an old man. That's all we know.
You guys do the math. This is a 6 by 12 room, 6 feet by 12 feet, and there's 24 bunks in it.
Pretty tight.
So is this the only person that's renting a room that isn't Raven?
Maybe, but
It sounded like all the other people are like homeless living down by the fireplace or something.
I feel like he gets a couple periodically, but it's not really clear. He obviously is not making a lot of money.
Well, he said this is
right?
the fourth person that's died on premises this year, as if they come here to die.
Their last nights they want to spend out of the cold, so they come in, they give what money they can, and then they end up dying.
Jeez.
Oh, that's so sad.
That's where this place is, though. This is the worst neighborhood in this city. This bar is right on the waterfront. Like, this is the end of the road for most people.
But hey, this is a culture that somewhat reveres death.
Oh, they definitely do.
So this body is going to be taken care of by the custodians.
The body is considered a holy object.
Revered better than the living, but Shed rifles through his stuff.
Doesn't take it, though.
But Raven, he comes up with an idea. And he says, hey, this dead body, like, it could really help you out.
It could be the answer to your problems. And June vocally disapproves. And we see Darling signing to Raven that she also disapproves.
Right.
They go ahead and have this discussion downstairs outside of June's earshot.
Wait, what is the idea? They're going to do something with this dead body that isn't...
Guilty though he feels, Shed can deliver the body to the back door.
Right.
And Raven will take care of the rest.
Yeah, what does he sell it or something like that?
He says there's a buyer.
He doesn't know.
There's a buyer for the body. And Shed's like, I kind of figured.
Right. There's a humorous scene, because this is in the middle of the night when everybody's asleep.
They're all at the fire.
Shed is really worried about making a lot of noise, and when he gets in the kitchen, the body's foot hits a pot or something. Mm-hmm. And he's like really worried that it's... going to wake everybody up, but...
Nobody stirs. Nobody looks up.
Nobody even looks. I could just see this thing. It's like all these guys are like in the middle of the common room, huddled around a fire, and he's calling a dead body, and nobody even looks up.
Yep.
Yeah,
right.
Raven's at the back door, and he takes the body.
He tells Shed that he will get 1/3 because Raven's taking all of the risk. Shed is already safe, having done his part, and that the amount that he will get varies from body to body. He'll get it tomorrow sometime. So then we jump in time, if you guys are ready.
Yeah.
We jump in time to around noon the next morning. Raven orders oatmeal and tea, I think, for a meal, and he pays with 10 silver levas, which has to be a substantial amount of money.
Well, if he was holding out with Craig with just the one, then I guess 10 would be quite a bit.
Well, 1 silver leva was enough to buy a wagon load full of firewood.
Yeah, enough to keep the place apparently warm all winter long.
Okay, so he now has 10 silver leva in his possession. Shed starts to think, oh, Raven's got to be rich. And Raven says, don't even think what you're thinking.
Is that exactly what he was thinking
Yeah, I think he nailed it.
I was thinking that, like... So it's not the dead body thing. Like, let's do a few more of these or anything like that.
No, he was thinking specifically about Raven having a lot of money and how he could get that money from Raven. Right? That's what he was thinking about. And Raven knew. He could probably see the avarice in his face.
I did like that he said that.
I did
thought
too.
It was pretty funny.
Raven says funny things. When he popped Red's wrist or whatever... It was when Craig threatened him. He's like, smart is as smart does. Let him go while you're still healthy. And Raven's like, that wasn't smart.
Pop.
He pops the wrist. Don't even think what you're thinking right now. Don't bite the hand that feeds you. This little thing we've got going on can solve all your problems.
So this 10 silver...
It turns into 9.
I noticed.
Shed takes that over to Craig.
He doesn't hesitate, man. He leaves immediately.
He's like... This is half what I owe you. and I hope we can get back on terms. Craig says you've actually overpaid you're 3 weeks ahead now, so
And they're back on the old schedule.
Asa's like kicked to the curb.
He's already looking for a way back into the good graces of Shed because he understands that his usefulness is temporary. He's no dummy.
Well,
he's just a bad person.
To recap everything that's gone on between Shed and Craig was just intimidating Shed, saying, hey, I don't care if times are tight for you. They're tight for me too. I have expenses. And you go to Craig's residence, and it's like a mansion. I mean, the outside looks like a dump.
It was described as a hostel, but his den could have been taken straight out of a mansion on top of a hill. So he lives well.
He also lives on the down low.
That makes perfect sense.
But
right?
he lives pretty well. And like I said, if there's a bloodsucker in this world, it's definitely him. I mean, he's a despicable human being. But he doesn't even ask where the money comes from. He doesn't care.
Money doesn't have provenance.
Doesn't care. Just accepts it and says, all right, we're good. Get out of here.
Except he also claims a favor from Shed.
That's true.
Before he departs.
That's true.
You owe me a favor. I'm going to ask for it. And Shed intuits that the favor will be helping to sell out Raven. They're going to want to kill Raven, and he's going to have to play a part in that. And he's like, man, I'm just always trapped. This is terrible.
He's scared. He's scared of Raven. He's scared of Craig. And no matter who, he's going to have to betray. Well,
I know who I would betray. But, I mean, he doesn't know what I know. So
There's always somebody that's going to fill that void.
yeah, but it might take a minute.
Sure thing.
And it might be Raven.
Craig is here. He lives here. He's got a network that's here. And you're right. Somebody in that organization is going to refill that gap. So he's probably really more afraid of Craig. Of course, Raven lives
Whatever.
there.
He can't win. The guy can't win. He's stuck in a trap and he can't win. Shed said that he didn't like Raven. We got a lot of internal dialogue from Shed, and the reasoning that he doesn't like Raven is he doesn't understand him. He's slumming it. He could definitely afford better than the Iron Lily, but yet he's there as a paying customer. And he protects Darling, who Shed views as the tavern whore.
Slut is, I think, the word he used.
What else are they good for?
Right. And he's always leering at her and trying to find a way to gain access to her, but, like, you know, Raven's in the way.
Yeah, I'm sorry. In this regard, Shed is a lecherous POS.
I would suggest that, yes, that's true, but it also just might be the world.
This isn't a fairy tale.
Exactly. I'm not trying to cover for Shed or anything like that. It just
Apologizing.
that was a common thing, I'm assuming.
I think he thinks of it as normal that the girl who works as a serving wench is also going to sexually service some patrons.
That's what they're for.
That's what he thinks. So that must be somewhat normal in this world. But Raven puts a stop to it every time. Like anybody that tries to drag Darling upstairs, no.
Yeah.
Knife is out, whatever it takes. I don't know. Probably just a few words from Raven would scare anybody. But he doesn't like Raven. But he's scared of Raven.
But Raven pays money.
And now he's in business with Raven.
Yeah, business that can get him in a lot of trouble, I'm assuming.
Well, they did one deal, but Shed's got to be thinking that, if
You don't just do one of those deals.
yeah, not
That
Whoa.
money's too good.
Well, not-
That money's too good. He's going to do it again and again and again.
not just that, but if he helps Craig eliminate Raven, then Raven's got to be hiding his money somewhere.
All right, so we are going to leave Juniper now, and we're going to go to Tallyland, roadside. I got the impression that 6 years have passed since the events of the Black Company.
Because it literally says 6 years ago.
Put it into context so that people understand.
Easily old enough to have helped create the disaster which had befallen the rebel 6 years ago.
What was the disaster? Do you guys remember?
The assault on Charm, which was the lady's stronghold.
It wasn't just that. The lady had been making a point of draining the entire region of its male population. She had been trying to drain their ability to rebel.
250,000 people died either in that battle or that campaign.
The kids have been instructed by their Uncle Neat to watch the roadside. It is hot. They don't want to do it, but they are doing it when the Black Company gets spotted coming down the road. And this kid knows who they are by name.
He's got all the baseball cards
Yeah.
of the Black Company. That's what this
Yes.
kid has. That's One Eye. That's Goblin. That's whoever
He doesn't
it may
see
be.
Goblin. He sees the captain, he sees One Eye, he sees Elmo and the lieutenant, and he knows who they are.
I gotta wonder how this kid has such great intel and descriptions of these people.
His uncle's in the Rebel.
How does the Rebel have descriptions of these people?
I assume they're famous. They've been in the area for 6 years. They've been fighting the Rebel for 6 years. Word spreads. Even the farmers talk.
And the Black Company seems to say, hey, by the way, we're the Black Company.
They do. Yeah, that's funny.
It's like they're building up their own legend.
Well, a legend around them has arisen, whether they like it or not. Croker, at some point in time in these stretch of chapters, says that their reputation is not really deserved.
Well, they certainly foster it because it's like striking fear into your enemy, intimidating your enemy, making them too afraid to confront you. I mean, the Black Company is coming. Run, run, run. Disperse, disperse, disperse.
That's essentially the idea here. The children, seeing what they have been told to see, try to make their escape. But there's a shadow across their path. He's like, Goblin. And Goblin wraps them up tight with magic and captures them. Tally ambush. We're at a tavern somewhere in Tally. It's referred to as Maidles, but I assume it's just from ownership. We've got Croker, Candy, Pawnbroker, and Otto. They're playing cards at a table, passing the time. I assume it's Tonk. I don't really know.
All of these are veterans from the first book, but do you guys remember Pawnbroker? He only made an appearance one time. Do you remember what his true name was?
No.
Sweetbeat.
Oh, that's right.
That's his real name is Sweetbeat.
Well, we essentially are in a hostage situation here.
Everybody in the tavern is being held in their seats? Is that what it is?
Yeah, the Black Company has showed up, and they are not allowing anybody to leave. The chapter's called Tally Ambush. They're going to ambush somebody.
So the Black Company in the bar, while they're playing cards, are overhearing a conversation.
Well, somebody comes in to have this conversation.
And it's Neat.
The uncle of the two children who were captured in the beginning.
Yeah.
One of Neat's companions said, I told you we shouldn't have sent those kids, which have been sent out many a time. The kid in his thoughts said the Black Company will never do anything harmful to kids. And the kid even thinks that Neat's a weak person, not really that effective in fighting the lady.
Yeah, but this is the opinion of a 10-year-old child.
So I gotta wonder. I mean, this is the Black Company after all. I wonder if just Neat told his niece and nephew, oh, they never hurt kids. Go out there and keep an eye out. Because we never find out what happened to those children.
No, we don't.
And remember, the annals are written with sugar and spice.
Croker.
So,
what a guy.
I gotta wonder.
The Black Company has been sitting here playing cards, and when the rebel has entered and they're having this conversation that you was mentioning, they realize a little bit too late that all of the regulars' eyes are wide and nobody's talking, and then the rebel realizes that there's some strangers here playing cards.
He draws a sword.
Spring tubes.
Well, Neat goes for his sword, and then the spring tube.
Okay.
They knock over the table. It's like a sentence, and then already the battle's done.
It was mere seconds it took.
Otto, I think, got a scratch.
Oopsie.
Even some of the locals that were already there jumped into the fray and got cut down. So they were probably already in on it and just were biting their tongues this entire time.
Yeah, looking for an advantage. The locals are told to clean the place up, make it look presentable again. The bodies of the rebel go down the well, and everybody goes back to playing cards and keeping their mouth shut. Croker pays the proprietor a gold piece, which he says is a kiss of death. He says, for services rendered.
Mm-hmm. And he's like, who are you guys?
We're the Black Company.
He's like, oh, crap. He wasn't going to talk, but they're like, it's going to be really hard to tread water in that well with all those other bodies in it.
Well, Croker has been checking the names off. They're killing rebels. That's what they're doing here. They've set a trap. This location apparently is visited regularly by rebels, and they're just going to wait for them to show up one at a time, kill them, tick their name off a box, and move on.
Well, Neat had called a gathering. The Black Company's in town. So call it all off. We're going to disperse.
That message never gets out. Tally mix-up. One of the locals has escaped.
So one of the people in that tavern that was being kept an eye on is gone. One of the company realizes it.
Yeah, I think it was Otto, but he said it took them a long time to figure it out. And it was probably somewhere after the 25th person had been killed in their trap. They just keep doing it over and over and over again. Neaten the place up, dump the body down the well, go back to playing cards.
I mean, the floor must be either wet with blood or wet from cleaning it up.
I would assume, yeah, the latter. All right, so the Black Company knows that the word is out. Given that there's just 4 of them at an inn, the rebels going to come for them and try to kill them. They don't know when, but they know that it's going to happen, so they try to get, mentally prepared for that. And it does come. The rebel shows up just after midnight.
Not much fun being live bait. They're talking in sign language all the time.
Something that Darling taught them, essentially.
I was going to ask, was that before or after Darling? Because it's a good technique when you're trying to be silent anyway.
This was from the first book. The captain recognized it as a valuable skill and piece of knowledge, so he had Darling train everybody.
I like that. That's cool.
Yep, he's like, that could be a very valuable skill set, and it has been.
Mm-hmm. They use it all the time.
Well, you guys skipped over how they played a joke on Otto. They had been playing cards, and Otto followed up that shadowy person.
There is a singular person who is in the inn who does not seem to be afraid of them.
He's a conspicuous shadowy person, yes.
He gets up to go to the bathroom or something, and
he goes upstairs, and Otto follows them, and then maybe Candy follows them, and they come back. But while they're away, they re-deal the cards to set up Otto. I thought that was hilarious. They said when Otto is low, that he always bets low, as in, like, he bets on it. And so they set it up so he had this super low hand, so he just goes, like, all in. I'm all in on this one, guys. But they already stacked the deck, so he loses. And he's like, I don't believe... what? Ah, you guys! I just think in this tense moment, they still find the gumption to harass, one of their companions. I don't know. I got a kick out of that. It's like he gets up to do some work, and they stack the cards, stack the deck, so he loses.
It's a sort of camaraderie, obviously. I mean, it's funny, but it's steeped in being mean towards somebody. We see Goblin and One Eye have their problems like always.
They fight all the time. Yeah. They don't make him pay though. He says that he's not going to pay them, and they're like, "It was your deal anyway. Don't worry about it. We're just messing with you."
This is common, and a lot of people have a problem with.
It's like a practical joke. They're bored. They're entertaining themselves. They're trying to make light of a dark situation.
These are things people do.
They do in casual, normal circumstances, but in the midst of the mission and the murdering,
many murders,
and the mayhem, they still find the morale to like harass one of their own.
Dude, that well has got to be full of bodies.
I'm serious. Like, how deep is this well?
It's holding 25 bodies or so. All right. The rebel arrives sometime after midnight. There is a vast number of them, and they storm the place and try to kill these guys. And almost immediately, we've got this very faint scent that's very particular that Croker identifies. And he yells, "Cover up!" And he pulls this soaked woolen rag out of something, and he covers his face with it. I assume the rest of the Black Company does the same. Yeah. He says it stinks like a dead skunk or something.
They've practiced this one.
They know it's coming, yeah.
It has the effect of, I don't know, cloud kill?
That's exactly what I was thinking. This is cloud kill, and they're like gagging and coughing and vomiting.
And dying.
Yeah, dozens of them. I mean, the whole place is like packed.
It's a deadly spell. But that's just one of many waves.
Well, you find out the shadowy guy in the corner was silent.
And when he went upstairs to use the bathroom or whatever he was doing up there, he was actually releasing a bird to let the rest of the Black Company know the jig is up. So he got the bird off, but they're going to have to survive until the Black Company arrives. And like I said, it's wave after wave after wave. And if you've ever played a waves defense kind of game, they get harder and harder and harder.
But in such a small place, they are able to defend themselves. I mean, nobody dies.
Right. No, by the end, they're defending from the stairs, but they're not able to put all the fires out.
The first time they did, I mean, the first wave died with cloud kill. Then they tried to shoot.
Silent was putting out flames or something.
They tried to burn it down, and Silent put it out, and they're like, well, that's not going to work. So they just sent in the second wave.
4 of the Black Company and Silent can hold these stairs, no problem. Forever.
But, again, they can't put all the fires out, so eventually the fire would get them.
Yeah, Silent's using that another cloud-type spell, but this time it's not poisonous. So you knew the guy's getting tapped out in that respect. You can't just kill people.
So it was cloud kill,
fires forever.
But then they came up with a lower level. He just came up with Stinking Cloud, which is a lower level spell.
Sure.
I wonder if he played D&D.
You gotta wonder. Or if D&D was based on this on some level.
Well, this is from the mid-80s.
Oh, is it that late? Oh, definitely D&D came first.
The first book was 84. I don't know when the second one came out.
Yeah.
And it says 1984, 1984, 1985.
Oh, all right. Well, then D&D came first.
For the three copyright dates. Let's go to Tally close up. Yes?
The one thing is kind of like the first fight in the mix-up. For as many people as they had to deal with in this chapter, it was a pretty sparsely written fight.
There was no fight. It's already happened. It's over. They've killed half of the rebel in the province in one night. It's kind of like the Battle of Perpale, right? We see the aftermath first.
The splitting of the chapters, the way Glenn Cook does it, it doesn't seem so sparse when you're reading the chapter and then reading another chapter about Juniper and
Right.
then going back. Even though this battle took like a page, maybe a page and a half.
Right.
The fact that it didn't take a long time, that you had something in between, it doesn't feel like you were robbed of an exciting scene or anything like
The
that.
previous chapter was a long battle scene, so I don't feel like we needed another one, right?
I
Right.
think Glenn Cook wrote this very, very well. I mean, he skipped over like most of the details of the battle and the mop up and
This is the mop up.
In normal circumstances, this would be a really exciting, a really tense scene, and it was for Croker and Silent and the ones that were stuck in there. But for everybody else, it was more just like mop up. And perhaps the reason why in the annals, speaking as Croker, it wasn't elaborated on is because for them this has become routine,
I think that's fair.
and that kind of segues into the PGA of the battle.
The part that isn't routine is that Croker was scared,
Yeah.
really scared. He thought they were going to die. And I think that was a sentiment shared by everybody there.
So the chapter leaves off with the fires being built.
And the next one starts with the rebel had to put their own fires out for some reason.
We never actually saw that moment. Yes, the entirety of it being in a room, a building that's going to be burnt down, is facing your death, obviously.
Yeah.
But we didn't actually see that part happen.
No, what we see is Elmo and Croker. Croker's worn out. I mean, the battle is recently over. He's kind of resting on his sword blade, using it almost like a cane. And Elmo and he have a brief conversation about being worn out, being old, being tired, that the heart of the Black Company is over 50, like the command structure. Everybody's over 50 now, or right at 50. And Elmo says that he just doesn't know that he's doing good. Like, what are we doing, Croker?
I don't know if it's just like battle fatigue or it's more of some people go through this almost like a midlife crisis where in life, when you've been doing the same thing for so long, you're worn out from it, even if it isn't as tense and
It seems like a crisis of conscience is starting to take root.
I think that is true. There is a crisis of conscience, but I just think there's also just a weariness of the point of it all.
Elmo tries to help Croker out, and Croker tries to help Elmo out. Elmo is Croker's best friend as these things go. As the captain is settling down and Crocus is checking names off the list, there's a little fight that starts up between Goblin and One Eye. And One Eye gets Goblin actually mad, such that Goblin has got a sword and is starting to cast deadly spells and wants to kill One Eye. And they have to be separated, and water's thrown on them, and
No, I think this is continuing that idea about Croker
Definitely.
feeling that, man, our time has come.
well, it's something that Goblin says.
What does he say?
Croker suggests that they need some kind of challenge, and Goblin's like, no, we need to believe in what we're doing, suggesting to me also another crisis of conscience is going on with him as well. So I think it's pervasive in the Black Company. He also said something was wrong with the Black Company, and Goblin's like, we need a cause we can believe in.
Yeah, that too. So there's perhaps multiple factors dragging them down.
6 years working for the lady.
They have a pretty cush job, too. They're like, we got to do pretty dangerous stuff, but at least we don't have to do dirty work.
No atrocities here.
I'm like, wait, you're in a tavern tying up the citizens of a town, and you're knocking off these people one by one and then forcing everybody to dump these bodies in a well.
And then killing the people who survive.
Oh, this is great. In this chapter, it says they're out there digging holes, graves, and they don't realize that they're digging their own graves.
They're prisoners.
Oh, my God, because the Black Company is going to off them.
Yes, and the very last sentence is you hear the screams of them as they're being killed and shoved in the graves that they just
And
dug.
realizing that they just dug their own graves.
This was right after you said, oh, but we don't do any atrocities.
Yeah, good stuff.
Dig your own
I gotta
grave.
wonder what they consider atrocities then.
He even said that, the occasional massacre, but no atrocities. I don't know. Maybe it's true that they don't kill children. Maybe that's true.
We also find out that Madel,
the owner of the tavern,
is now under the employ of the lady.
Yep.
Because no rebel soldier is paroled. That's when we find out that they're digging their own graves. Unless we can enlist them inescapably into the lady's cause.
Right. He was doomed when Croker gave him that gold coin.
Oh, yeah.
There was no option for him. He's turned
Croker says to him, do you want to get out of this alive?
Mm-hmm.
And he's probably telling him right then afterwards, the next sentence we don't read, come work with us.
Yeah.
In reality, I don't see how Madel could get out of this.
The back door.
Well,
take all the money you've buried, burn the place down, and get the hell out of there.
You might have a chance.
Maybe.
Because they're waiting to kill 20 other guys,
Goblin will catch him. Oh, but they were nice enough to empty his well of corpses.
Oh,
well,
well,
that's what they say. Yeah, Candy, in a fit of generosity, pulled all those corpses out. And that's a lot of bodies.
That well, I wouldn't drink out of it for a few days.
I was kind of thinking the same thing. I mean,
All right, but that does it for the first 9 chapters. Thoughts?
Boom.
Glad to be back with the Black Company. Honest to God, I'm super glad.
It took me a minute to get back into it. The jumping from chapter to chapter was a little jarring at first, getting into a new writer. We had read 3 consecutive sci-fi authors, and in some ways there's a sameness in the way they presented their stories, and this is a different kind of writing.
That's a good transition, Yule. I would like to draw your attention to the blurb on the back of the Omnibus edition. It is by Steven Erikson, and he writes, with the Black Company series, Glenn Cook single-handedly changed the face of fantasy, something a lot of people didn't notice and maybe still don't. He brought the story down to a human level, dispensing with the cliche archetypes of princes, kings, and evil sorcerers. Reading his stuff is like reading Vietnam War fiction on peyote.
that is an interesting description.
Well, I've never done any of the last 2 things.
Vietnam War?
Vietnam War fiction or peyote. And if I was doing peyote, I don't think I would be partaking in Vietnam War fiction.
Well, I'm really glad we're revisiting the Black Company, or the sequel to the Black Company, Shadows Linger. We're familiar with the characters. It's easy for us to kind of get right back into it. And while there's been temporarily a 6-year gap in the story, it feels like we're picking up right where we left off.
Well, for us, there was only a 3-year gap.
Was it that long?
It's been 3 years.
Oh, well, sorry. It's like almost like...
Art imitates life.
Yeah, art imitates life. There we go. Or we imitated art, one or the other.
Yeah, definitely.
I like it, and I like grim fantasy, and this, tickles my itch. I like Glenn Cook, and
I do too. I'm a huge fan. He has a very nice way with words. In a way, actually, he reminds me of Kurt Vonnegut, but he's not funny like Kurt Vonnegut. He says things in an interesting way. At the very beginning of the 2nd chapter, when he's describing the city, and we get that kind of like bird's eye view where he travels us all the way through, it only takes like a couple of paragraphs. And he's given us so much information about the setting. It's quite admirable. I'm a huge fan.
I think you're right. He takes the time to not just tell a story, but also to flesh out and colorize the characters in doing normal human things that normal humans do.
His characters are believable, too.
That's what I mean. Yes, exactly. The good, the bad, and the ugly.
And Shed is all of those things, right?
He is, yeah.
Everybody's a shade of gray here. No white except for maybe the white rose.
I feel bad for Shed. I wonder what kind of person he would be if things weren't so crummy.
Hard times. Everybody there's desperate,
yes.
And he is among the most desperate.
And desperate men will kill and steal to survive.
And they'll also sell dead bodies to an unnamed evil. Who knows?
Well, I remember like my different perceptions between last time and this time. I remember thinking that, Raven... I'm like, whoa, Raven's like a body snatcher and selling money, and that's how he's getting his money.
Selling money.
I'm sorry. He is selling bodies for money, and I had completely forgotten he'd been given this fairly large amount, non-disclosed amount of money at the end of the first book.
It was a third of a great and vast treasure.
Yes. So,
do you think he's just using that money to pay And he's not really doing anything with the bodies.
I honestly don't know, but I remember at the time I was like, oh, geez, is this what he's doing for money? Because he doesn't have any other noticeable sources of income.
6 years of supporting him and Darling, that might have gone through that entire fortune.
True, that's possible. Who knows who and what he spent or to make ends meet and everything else. But
Well, Darling's working.
Yeah, she is. I wondered about that. Like, why work other than to just kind of blend in a little bit more?
I think to blend in, mostly.
To not draw
Of course, are you
attention.
blending into someone that doesn't know you, knows how to do sign language?
well, and to give her something to do,
Yeah.
to keep her occupied and
sure.
engaged.
Right. While they're waiting for something. Because it seems like this is a place where they're not really settled.
No, to me, Raven is just hiding. That's all he's doing. He's just hiding and biding his time. And I don't know what he's
And
biding.
he's hiding her in a slummy inn called the Iron Lily. Welcome back to the Black Company, everybody. We will see you in 9 days' time.